Dear people of Southern Cameroons, fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement, accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro, this day. Today is Wednesday, the 20th of November 2024. My people, I'm delighted to be back on this platform. In my last outing here, we had the opportunity to examine the evergreen calls for synergy, for unity of purpose among the leadership of the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement. And it was my delight to bring onto this platform, a lot of the advocacy being done on behalf of the people of the Southern Cameroons, the former UN Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, by the former US Undersecretary at the Department of State in charge of the Bureau of African Affairs, Mr. Thibaut Nagy. And I also had the rare privilege to share here some of the thoughts and views of some actors in our liberation movement. Of course, I've seen a lot of reactions to, that broadcast. I've seen a lot of text messages, and I want each and every one of us to understand this. Unlike other actors and unlike other platforms in our liberation movement where people block messages because they don't want to be insulted, they don't want their private lives to be brought up, to try and intimidate them to stay quiet. They don't want to have, people coming with bad blood on their platforms. I decided and I've determined that I'll continue to leave open the comment section because I want us to participate. I want us to continue to work together. Like I said in my last broadcast, I appreciate feedback. None of us is perfect. None of us has a monopoly of knowledge. And so it is important always to hear what perspectives others have relating to or regarding the issue under consideration or the issues under discussion. Take note that the slogan for this particular liberation movement, ab initio, has always been a people's collective quest for freedom. That is the collective quest of the people of the former UN Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, for freedom. And so, therefore, it is an indication that all 8 million Southern Cameroonians are called upon to, in one way or the other, participate in ensuring that we see the aspirations that we all have come to pass, to ensure that we get the freedom that we all seek. Listen, folks, I'm not oblivious of the fact that shy of perhaps some 1 or maximum 2% of the population who are enjoying with the colonial regime of Mr. Paul Biya in our land and really want to have it perpetuated on account of the crumbs that they are getting in the name of benefits from Yaoundé. At least 98% of our people want freedom because what we are living now is not just slavery. It's not just, black on black colonization. It is absolute dehumanization. The worst form of torture. That is what we are living at the hands of La République du Cameroon, manned by nonagenarian Paul Biya, who most of the time doesn't even know if he's still alive or doesn't know where he is. So my people of Ambazonia, when you bring in your comment, take note. I always go to read these comments so that I see 1 or 2 things that are being said that will enrich our education campaign, our sensitization campaign, as we continue to encourage ourselves to stay the course of this liberation movement until we get to where we are headed. That said, I have seen quite some comments of some people saying, why are you just talking about this thing? Why don't you spearhead it? I said it here and I will repeat. These efforts have to be a collective effort. which means that even if you are on ground zero, you have the possibility to talk to anyone in the front lines. The one thing you should be hammering about is the need for this synergy. My people of Ambazonia, sometimes we must be honest enough to recognize that among all the experiments that we have tried, there are some that worked. There are some that showed that they could work, and which we shelved for reasons that, I should not say are unknown, for reasons sometimes that do not make sense. And there is nothing wrong in recognizing, a pattern, a strategy that worked, and then going back to it, even not as exactly as it was before, but trying to tweak it to make it work with the changing times. I'd like us to take a quick flashback before I get into the discussions that we have today. Recall, in my last discussion, I said here that La République du Cameroon is crumbling and will continue to crumble. Will continue to crumble because despite what is perceived as our division, despite what is perceived as our fighting in disparate ranks, we have continued to inflict a lot of pain on La République du Cameroon. We have continued to dent their ability to, have a walkover in our land, to dent their ability to kind of, continue to carry out their operations normally while bringing pain to our people. We have continued to impede their ability to even develop their own land or to even deliver good governance or deliver, anything good at all to their people, to the point where the level of suffocation in their land is getting unbearable by the day. So therefore, we have to give ourselves kudos even as we continue to reflect on what better strategy to take to speed up our liberation movement. Because yes, we can make it go faster than it is going. Because whatever the case, we will never go back to where we are coming from. We will definitely only stop at independence. It could take much longer if we continue to fight in disparate rounds, but it will also go faster. It can also go faster if we decide to do the needful. So before I get into all of this, let me make a quick stopover in La République du Cameroon, where I said, by the power of our resilience, by the power of our determination, and my people of Ambazonia, of the southern Cameroons on ground zero, most especially, by continually respecting the ghost towns, that is, the Monday ghost towns, by continually respecting some of the very justified lockdowns and all of this, you are demonstrating to the rest of the world that it will never ever be business as usual on our land. And by the same token, foiling all the attempts like Republic of Cameroon has tried to make before the international community in claims that it has the situation in the southern Cameroons under control, that our people wish actually to stay under colonialism, that our people are enjoying the dehumanizing treatment that they are meting out to us, and that our people are not complaining, they are only taken hostage by, a bunch of lost souls in the diaspora and in the bushes. So, my people, this is what you are seeing in La République du Cameroon right now. When you look at this, it looks banal. It looks banal, but it's adding up because the confusion that is coming into that land, that is getting accelerated in that land, is because of the pressure we are heaping on La République du Cameroon in our land. And now, more and more, they are fighting each other. They are trying to scrutinize each other. So when you see that someone as close as the aide de camp to the President of the Republic of La République du Cameroon, Mr. Paul Biya, Mr. Fouda, General Fouda, that was generally seen as some calm person, some demigod and all whatnot. Now you find in the papers that he is no longer able to have access to some of the quarters that he had unfettered access at the presidency of La République du Cameroon. This tells you the serious malaise that is in that land. And when it's happening like this, among people who not only have all the taps on exactly the operations and everything of the president of La République du Cameroon, of top officials in the government of La République du Cameroon, you know that implosion is close. You know that the implosion we've been talking about is close. And this is one more reason why we need to close ranks the fastest possible, because it keeps ringing in our heads that the opportunity that not only us, but a lot of our sympathizers, supporters, admirers in the international community have been eyeing, that opportunity is not far. And so, therefore, we have to make hay while the sun shines. Reason I've always said here and repeated over and over, that success happens when opportunity meets preparations. In my last outing also, I talked about worsening economic conditions in that country. Of course, I've seen on the comment section, some of you said when I was talking about the liter of gas being at 850, someone said at the moment he or she was watching that live show in Victoria, that's in Libya, in the southern Cameroons, a liter of gas was 1,500 francs. And you know that in a lot of localities, both in La République du Cameroon and in the southern Cameroons, it's not 850 francs. It's in some places 1,000, some places 1,500, where they create artificial scarcity in order to make life more complicated for the people. When I was talking about the prices of goods, especially, I mean, food stuff, uh, groceries, a lot of people have reached out to me to say some of the prices I'm giving are outdated because things are getting worse by the day. And as if that is not enough, I talked about youth unemployment. And when I talked about youth unemployment, I get figures, some people thought that I was kidding. But now there is a local outlet in La République du Cameroon that has now come up. And they had the time to comb the statistics at the Cameroon National Institute of Statistics. So the statistics that you're seeing here are not from the blues. They are not from the World Bank that the government of Cameroon will dispute. They are not from the IMF. No, they are not from any other global body that the government of Cameroon will say, oh, they are just trying to spoil. No, these statistics are from the National Institute of Statistics in Cameroon, what they call Institut National de la Statistique, and that is where Better Things News got this. And so they say, according to statistics found in that structure, the unemployment rate of youths aged 25 to 35 in Cameroon has reached a critical level of 74% in 2024. If you understand what I mean by 74%, it means of every 10 young people you see in La République du Cameroon aged between 25 and 35, at least 7, I'm just saying at least because the statistic shows that it's about 7.5, meaning 7.5 of them. But since there's no half human being and it's not 75 that should, carry it forward, let us bring it backwards. At least 7 out of 10 are unemployed. Therefore, it tells you the level at which the poverty is, the level of misery in that triangle, simply because of their misguided campaign in the southern Cameroons. So 74% of youth unemployment should tell you, this should explain to you why it is easy for people like Fortabetando, for people like Ngaringa, here I'm talking about Mbelamoki, Charles, for people like Atangana Paul G, for people like Fu Jonathan Mejingni, for people like Focalistus Gentry, to just go around, deceive the young people, cut them in good numbers, take them to places and say, come and stand and sing that Paul Biya should be your candidate in 2025 or be your candidate again in 2032, because they will just need to give them 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 bread and sardine, because these people are desperate. I mean desperate. The level of desperation is unparalleled. And so this is as a result of the resiliency of the people of the southern Cameroons. Don't get me wrong. There is, first of all, horrible governance in La République du Cameroon. There is, first of all, galloping corruption, embezzlement of public funds at a level never before seen anywhere on the planet Earth. But they were doing that over the years and managing to still do things here and there. Since the start of this phase of our liberation movement in the southern Cameroons, it has not been really easy with them. It has not been possible for it to be business as usual again. And so they have faced really terrible moments that are continuing to unleash or to be unleashed on the people, to unravel. So my people of Ambazonian, these are some of those milestones that I've mentioned here that we need to continue to celebrate as we move forward. That said, let us move on now to talk about the importance of synergy. Look, folks, I want to say here and repeat it and emphasize it that attaining the level, the kind of synergy that we want will require the determination, will require the participation, and will require the cooperation of all and sundry, not only of those who are on the front line, so of those you call leaders, not only of this cast of people, but of each and everyone. Our attitudes in the various social media groups like WhatsApp, Facebook, and all of those will also help in taking us towards the direction we want to go. If we spend our time from morning till evening in social media platforms, on WhatsApp, only insulting this group, insulting this leader, berating that one, attacking this one, name calling, attacking people here and there. This one is an agent of La République, that one is this and that. Every time you're doing that, you are contributing to the disorder, to the disunity. You are contributing in slowing this liberation movement down. What about we just embrace a kind of collective change of attitude, that we all begin to come to find out, what can I personally as an individual do to change this situation? It will help. I've received a lot of audios from one of the groups here, the Sakolet IG, in which they are insulting themselves, name calling him all kinds of names, talking about parallel creation of whatsoever website, president stealing from himself, that one. When they get to me, they stop here. I don't share them. I don't. I will not share them. I will reach out to some people that will share to say, you see this, these are things we should not share. Because sharing this is not only like you are, by that same token, you are trying to disintegrate that particular group, and it goes across the various groups, movements, and organizations. We should be looking for positive things that will help bring us closer together. There are challenges. A lot of groups, movements, and organizations are all facing internal crises that can be resolved if we are able to come together and look at things from a supra point of view. It will make life easier for us. It will speed up our liberation movement, and it will make us more willing to sacrifice like we did before. Let me therefore delve into this flashback that I talked about a while ago. In my last outing, I said something when I talked about the level of selflessness that existed in the consortium in 2016 at creation, and the way right up to 2017 and the likes. That's not the only thing I would like to talk about. Take a look at the early experiments at Synergy. When we had gone through SCACOF and we progressed from SCACOF to the governing council, that was a structure of synergy, of unity. Go back to it. Under the governing council, we had three arms of government. It was literally a government, but not called a government, not given the possibility to function directly like a government, giving the chance that there will not be any opposition because everyone was working together. The governing council had what you call the executive branch. The executive arm was made up of the chairman of the governing council, that was Comrade Sisi Kujilius Ayuktabe. You had the vice chairman, that was Patasang Wilfred Fombang. The secretary general, that was Milan Atam. That was for the executive arm. For the legislative arm, we had the what we called at the time, I think it is still under the structure that Mr. Elvis Cometa chaired, and I don't know why the name is eluding me, but I'll come with a specific name. But that's something that almost functioned like that almost functioned like the legislative arm, like the parliament of the structure. And then we had another organ that was to be chaired by the legal minds in the house, which was actually taking care of the judicial arm. And so therefore, these structures all function in tandem, and all our groups, movements, and organizations were represented in this. And then, on top of all this, there was something called the Leadership Council. So, the Leadership Council that, eventually got the name of, oh my goodness, why am I forgetting the structure that Elvis Comet chaired for all this while? So, the Leadership Council brought together leaders of all our groups, movements, and organizations. And even where there were some little dissenting voices from within, but they were within. They were within. They were not outside. They were within. So, all our groups, movements, and organizations were represented under the governing council. Even if some people once was said, oh, Comrade Sisiko Ayuktabe was a Johnny Just Come. Oh, Comrade Sisiko Ayuktabe was not, oh, they will not recognize him, but they were inside that group. And too often, this talking was taking place within that structure. It was working. And at that time, despite some of this insight, this little misunderstandings inside, which is normal with all with all structures of this nature, we at least had one leader in Sisi Kwayu Tabe who was recognized and accepted, and who could go all over the place and talk on our behalf. And all the social media activists at the time were drumming their for support towards the movement. That is how it was easy for us to have September 22, 2017 happen, where you had millions of Southern Cameroonians come out on the streets. But as soon as we had the hold up in Zaria, where they transformed into a government unilaterally and all of those things, and alienated the various groups, movements, and organizations by using some structure called the country heads. I don't know where they are today. Look at what happened. It ushered in a moment of total disorganization. So, folks, we are talking unity, we are talking synergy. Those are experiments that we can say, okay, can we go back to this approach? It could be obsolete, but now bring in some modifications, refine it to, make sure it helps to take us to where we are headed. You're asking for suggestions. That is a suggestion that we need to work on. Because whether we like it or not, it will be difficult for us to attain our objectives or to attain our goal without making an effort to work together. We definitely must have to. Now, let me take this this video clip, and I want to be very grateful to the membership of the tripartite. We are talking tripartite. I really am referring to the people who are working within the framework of a framework agreement of the consortium, IGCare, and the SCNC. I mean, this video that was shared in the forum touched me so much, and I said, let us look at it together. Watch.
Champions, what is most important part in the car? Who knows the answer? Tell.
But to me, all the parts are important because they all come together as a team to form one goal.
Another opinion. What?
As for me on the car, I think it's the engine.
Uh-huh.
Without the engine in the car, you cannot do anything. You cannot move it around.
Okay. Can you move without the tires? No. Can you move without the steer? Never. So what is most important? You are on 100%. Everything is important. Same like in the team, same like in the company. Everybody is important. If you feel like you are not important, remember, you are part of the company. It's like part of the car. If you move one, the car is useless. Or at least it becomes less effective. On the 3 tires, somehow the car will move. But I think you understand my point. Now what we try? We try again our experiment. Break it. This is 1. Break it. This is 3. Easy. Break it. That's it. This is power of the team. Power of synergy. When we work all together, not competing, but cooperating. If somebody is struggling with something and you know the answer, you stop what you do and you go and help him. Champions.
So, does it need any further comment? This is exactly what we require in our liberation movement. To recognize the power of synergy. To recognize that synergy means working together, not competing against one another. Since we got into the government experience, we have noticed that we spend our time competing against one another, with one group wanting to bury all the others. Because take note, we are dealing here with an enemy that is specialized in divide and rule. I've brought this to our knowledge here. The tactic of La République du Cameroon is to reach out to each of the groups and say, you see, we have noticed that your group is the strongest, your group is the most prominent. We have noticed that your group has a better philosophy. We have noticed that you have greater integrity. We want to work with you. But if you can suppress all the other people and it's not only you, that will make a lot of sense and we will negotiate with you. You ignore or you forget that just what they are telling you at the Egg of Sea is what they are telling the people of the SCNC. It's the same thing they are telling the people of the various IG groups. It's the same thing they are telling the people of the APLM. It's the same thing they are telling the people of the ACT. It's the same thing they are telling the people of the Southern Cameroon People's Platform. It's the same thing they are telling the people of the consortium. It's the same thing across the board. So they do this and we continue hitting our heads because we want to emerge by suppressing all others, imposing ourselves, and hoping that we are doing. No. By doing that, we are helping them achieve their goal. Keep us fighting each other, and the ripple effects are felt on the ground among the self-defense volunteers who are adhering to one group, movement, organization, or the other. They to begin fighting each other for that hegemony on the ground. And that is how we hold ourselves behind. But you look at the experiment just demonstrated here. The use of that broom is something that has been demonstrated more even in the African parlance, where we always know that it's difficult to break a bunch of broom because it's made of many single ones. So you isolate, you start breaking. You isolate, you start breaking. And that's what I talked here some time ago about La République du Cameroon being more interested in what is called a retail peace process, where they will come one group, press you, finish you. If you look at what is happening today on ground zero, as a result of our disorganization, as a result of us competing against one another rather than synergizing our efforts, what are we doing? We have a good idea that if contributed to the whole, it will take us forward. No, we don't bring it. We rather fight against each other. Now you have Donga and Mantum. They have their self-defense volunteers. They are their own lots, separate from Bui. Their own lot, separate from Momo, separate from Manu, separate from from Dian, separate from Kupem Wanenguba, in such a way that the people of La Republic of Cameroon know, they get up, they say, today we are going to fight, but in Bui. We will make sure that we reduce them to not, while they're in Bui, in all other places are quiet and watching. And they have their way. Whereas, if things were as they were at the beginning, where the self-defense volunteers are all cooperating together and can carry out actions in synergy, La République du Cameroon does not have the resources to be able to face off in Gokotundia, in Boyo, in Mezam, in Bui, in Manu, in Dian, in Meme, in Fako, in fact, in all the counties at the same time. 13 counties, they can't have the resources to face off at the same time. Things are happening at the very same time. This is the importance of us synergizing together, because if we are able to pull this, then the self-defense volunteers on the ground will do what is happening now in Bui, where in Bui they have done their level best to come together with the philosophy called the Bui Unity Warriors, where at least that infighting among them that led at some point to the unfortunate killing of 39 of our brave hearts only by us. In these days, it will be difficult for that to happen in that county. And if this experiment is taken across the entire Ambazonian, trust me, we will resume giving La République du Cameroon the greatest nightmare of all times. We will be able to once more attract and maintain the attention of the global community. My people of Ambazonian, this example I just showed here, this little clip that I played here, should touch our hearts, should make us understand that those who are coming and saying, oh, everybody should just line up behind my group, oh, why making a noise? We already have a government. Stop deceiving yourselves. Let's be clear here. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. We don't have a president. We don't have no government. We are still trying to liberate our land. So let's get away from all those myths. Let's get away from all of those ideas that I want to, I'm holding myself not to actually use the word stupid to describe those ideas, and focus on what is most important. We will come to governance once we have kicked out La République du Cameroon from our land. And like I said, getting to this particular approach will require the determination, the devotion, the participation, and the focus of all and sundry. Don't sit and be pinpointing and be doing finger pointing at some point that, oh, those people have refused to. Those people. What effort are you making yourself in your own corner to take us there? Let's get to a conscience call, and we will be able to attain this objective. And sometimes when we talk, people think that this has to do only with the groups, movements, and organizations that fight. It has to touch the entire Southern Cameroon's community. Sometimes I've exchanged with religious leaders who tell me, oh, you people should better unite out there, that, oh, sometimes you are falling on us and all of those things. Sometimes your people are falling on us and all of that. And I say, what efforts are you also making to let the people see that you understand their plight? Because we see, for example, in Nigeria, the Biafran people, the clergy in that area, we have seen bishops, reverend fathers come up and are very vocal on the plight of the people and calling on the government to pay a listening ear. At the start of this liberation movement, 2016, early 2017, we saw the bishops of the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda, which covers the entire southern Cameroons, come up with letters to give their opinions, to call the government to order. But since then, as the years have gone by, the Christian church has simply fallen behind the oppressor. Truth be told, the Christian church in the southern Cameroons has simply fallen behind the oppressor. We now see a lot of clergy, more and more, going here and there and, collaborating, working with, abetting, and even encouraging the oppressor. Those that are making life so complicated for us, receiving in return sumptuous gifts. Yeah, publicly, sumptuous gifts. Gifts of in cash, in kind, big cars, all kinds of things in return for loyalty. Then it gets me to that point where I say that salvation in the southern Cameroons now is being bought and sold to the highest bidder. The role of the church in ensuring social justice appears to be disappearing. That is why this story from Kenya actually interested me a lot. Because when you look at this, what are you seeing there? That the Catholic Church in Kenya has risen to the occasion and told the government, the government President Ruto, to its face, that they will not be part and parcel of a corrupt system that does not pay attention to the needs of the people. This is exactly what we expect of the Christian church in the southern Cameroons. You see this screenshot that you are watching. It is from a Deutsche Welle. I took it because if it were from a local news outlet, you say, oh, this is something that is doctored and all of those things. The news may not be founded and all of that. That's why I took this, so that you should see. That's from Deutsche Welle. It says the Catholic Church in Kenya has rejected a $40,000 donation made by President William Ruto. He had given the money to build a house for a priest and fund a choir. But the church said Ruto would be refunded. The donation came after Catholic bishops hit out at the Ruto government for failing to fulfill its electoral promises. The bishops said the church will now no longer accept donations from politicians. And the question Deutsche Welle asks, can this happen in the country? Can this happen in your country? If you are watching, can this happen in your country? So when you look at this, you are a southern Cameroonian, you are an Ambazonian, you turn around and look at what the Christian church is doing. You see how people are speaking with water in their mouths. You see how people are rather standing and trying to sell a government position by claiming sometimes that, oh, life has come to normal, schools have gone back, businesses have reopened, this and that's happening, life is coming to normal, things are getting to okay. Where people are dying, where people are being killed on a daily basis, where people are being kidnapped by rings put in place by the same cronies of the Biya system in Yaoundé. That is why I'm doffing my heart. I doff my heart to these Kenyan bishops who have understood that there comes a time where you really say, despite the juiciness of what you are giving me, I will not accept it. Because you see that money I just called the $40,000, with the current exchange, that will be about 24 million in CFA francs. But the Catholic bishops have said no and have now made clear that they will no longer be accepting donations from any politician, because once they get into bed with autocratic regimes, once the Christian church gets into bed with a colonial system that is unleashing pain in the land on the same people that they are preaching the gospel to, then they will fail their mission of crying for social justice. Then they will begin talking about ephemeral peace, about vain peace, and there can never be peace where there is no justice. I think this should serve as a lesson to the Christian church in the southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonian. And I'm saying this because where we are crying for synergy, this synergy has to happen along all the castes of our community, not only among the diaspora leaders, groups, movements, and organizations. It has to also happen in our entire communities. So if the church too begins to play its role, we saw the Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa stand unmitigatingly with the suffering masses, stand unmitigatingly with the people of South Africa fighting against an evil apartheid regime. in our land. We see prelates so excited to go and share a high table with governors whose hands are all stained with blood. We find our bishops so excited to go and sit on the same high table with colonial administrators who are extorting and dehumanizing their Christians on a daily basis. It's unacceptable. Yeah, it's unacceptable. My people of Ambazonian. Even when it has been proven that the government of Cameroon, through their forces, their thugs in La République du Cameroon, have tortured and killed members of the Christian church, killed priests. We saw what happened to an American evangelist, to a US evangelist in Bamboo. What has a Christian church done? They turned a blind eye to it. We saw what happened to a Kenyan priest in Manu. And they know this. What has the Christian church done? Go back to dine with the same assassins of the Lamb of the body of Christ. It is shameful. We need synergy. We need all castes of the Southern Cameroon, because this freedom we are seeking is not just for the diasporal movements, groups and organizations. It is not just for those self-defense volunteers who are living in horrible conditions in the various bushes, fighting for that freedom. It is for all of us. That is why all hands have to be on deck. That's why I'm touching all these sectors. And now I want to move on. Look, folks, I was so aggrieved yesterday. And even now that I want to talk about it, I'm feeling so aggrieved again that I'm obliged to want to take a very brief pause so I can get myself back together and, so finish this conversation well. Let's take a short break. Thank you very much, and you are welcome back. So, folks, I was saying that I'm still so filled with grief for what has happened, for the news that has emerged from the Bakassi Peninsula regarding the situation of the colonial, unfortunately I have to call it that, colonial divisional officer of Idabato, Mr. Roland Ewane, who has finally been killed by his abductors. I have been so aggrieved since the images emerged. And I said, if Mr. Ewane Roland were a citizen of La République du Cameroon, La République du Cameroon would not have ignored all the pleas of the family. La République du Cameroon would have taken measures. They would have paid the ransom. Because we saw La République du Cameroon pay ransom in billions of CFA to Boko Haram in the far north of La République du Cameroon to free their citizens. Some of them not even to the rank of a divisional officer, to free the wife of a minister, to free citizens of a foreign country, France. They paid billions ransom. But because this one concerned a southern Cameroonian, and many of them are out there who will not learn from this example, because many of these examples are bound, who will not learn from this example, but will continue to claim that they're looking for bread, to go and sacrifice your life for a system that doesn't care about you, that doesn't even see you as a human being, that doesn't recognize you as one who deserves any attention when you are in distress. Oh yes, I watched this clip on Canal 2 and I've been so tearful ever since then. Watch yourselves.
Sujet majeur au cœur de l'actualité, la peur continue d'enfler dans la famille du sous-préfet d'Idabato, enlevé le 1er octobre dernier par des pirates dans la péninsule de Bakassi. Les assaillants menacent de le tuer, exigeant en échange de sa vie une rançon de près de 600 millions de francs CFA, des appareils et la libération de leurs collègues emprisonnés à Biya. La famille vit des moments de forte angoisse. Son épouse particulièrement a perdu le sommeil depuis lors. Entre frayeur et terreur, Rose Ewanet est à cœur ouvert dans ce reportage exclusif signé Arnaud Guéfac et Jean-Bernard Tanier.
Il était 2h45, je crois, ce fameux 1er octobre. Je crois que c'était un mardi.
For those of you who do not understand French, I want to say that this is a special report conducted by some reporters of Canal 2 in Biya, talking to the family, to the wife, the spouse of the now deceased, the divisional officer of Idabato, Mr. Ewane Roland. And, you know, she's recounting all the efforts that have been made. She's talking about the demands that were made. How the guy started by asking for a lot of money, $7 million, down to $3 million, down to $1 million. I mean, which gets out to about 700 million CFA, down, and the family making all kinds of efforts, trying to gather even their own little money, but they could not get even 1/10 of what was being requested, and how the family contacted the government through the colonial governor, Okala Bilal Bernard, in Biya, and he said there is nothing that he could do, nothing that the family could even do, because it was a diplomatic issue between the government of Cameroon and that of Nigeria, and the family kept being in disarray, mourning until when they received the now viral video of Mr. Roland Ewane, who is suspended and being treasured. Hear him crying like a baby. Yet, the government of Cameroon was not moved until this moment. Let's finish.
Que je reçois un appel venant du maire d'Idabato. Maman, les mauvais garçons sont entrés dans la ville. Ils ont pris ton mari. Alors je lui pose la question, toi tu es où? Pendant qu'on récupère mon mari, toi tu es où? Il a raccroché. En passant, il habite dans la case de passage de la commune. Il n'a pas de résidence. Donc dans cette case de passage se trouvent le maire et son épouse, l'adjoint au maire et son épouse, et d'autres enfants du maire, avec les photos qui circulent déjà dans les réseaux, que vous-même vous avez déjà vu. Ça ne va plus avec ma santé. Je suis déjà à moitié morte. Vous pouvez le voir comment ma tête tremble. C'est pas...
So you hear this? That man is living in Idabato without an official residence. They're living in what we call a guest house and all of those things. The poor woman is explaining how her health and everything is failing. When will these southern Cameroonians learn that they have to stop serving this bloody regime? That they have to stop providing unsolicited sacrifices. See how they are being mocked by this kind of abandonment. We saw it first with one gentleman in Jakiri who decided to go out there and march with 2 other people from Yaoundé. When they said don't go, his body was found on the street some days after. No remorse, nothing from the Yaoundé-led regime. His family is abandoned to take care of himself, no form of recognition. We saw it again with this lady in Bamenda, or this so-called assistant mayor, who refused, according to stories, because I've really not confirmed this, although some people close to the family say it's real, that at the time she was murdered, her husband was in a flight heading to the United States to participate at the wedding of their own daughter, and she refused to travel because she wanted to stay behind and mobilize people against the people's call so that they should go out there and watch a dehumanizing and insulting video, a mocking video glorifying Paul Biya. What has the regime done? We saw mayors in Boyo. These are people who were never elected by Southern Cameroonians. because Southern Cameroonians boycotted those elections clearly, and even Elekam, that often lies, could not claim that up to 5% of the population voted. And we all know that the so-called 5% represented La République du Cameroon colonial servants in our land, including their forces of occupation. These are things that pain. They hurt me. Because by day and by night, these people see all the evidence that all the sacrifices, the martyrdom they want to get for La République du Cameroon is unsolicited. Because La République du Cameroon doesn't care. If they picked up just a domestic servant of a divisional officer or citizen of La République du Cameroon somewhere, they would have paid the ransom. The government would at least have opened negotiations. Hell no. Let's finish with this clip.
À moi qui le fais, ça tremble comme ça seul.
Englouti par la peur, une épouse déboussolée, son époux, enlevé le 1er octobre dernier dans la presqu'île de Bakassi, Aïda Bato, est toujours entre les mains des pirates 7 semaines après.
Mr. Roland, yes. How much do we agree for you to pay us? Yes, failure to bring it, what will happen to you?
Ces images de torture du sous-préfet Roland Ewanet.
So you hear that when they had gone down from $7 million to $3 million to $1 million and now to $700,000, the government of Cameroon said, do with him what you want. Do what you want to do with him. We don't care. Because he's not a human being. Or he's a subhuman. He's a deputy citizen, he's an assistant citizen, not a full citizen. Do whatever you want to do with him. At this moment that I'm talking, there are others who are in dangerous places sacrificing their lives in the name of a divisional officer representing the government of Cameroon in a land where the people have rejected colonialism. At the moment I'm doing this presentation, there are some people somewhere calling themselves mayors, impostors, claiming to be under a court known as CPDM. My people, you have to learn. Your sacrifices are unsolicited. Your martyrdom is stupidity, because La République du Cameroon only needs you to advance its purpose. When you're in trouble, you're on your own. If you haven't learned this, let's finish.
Prise dans une situation inhumaine et dégradante, envoyée par des pirates à son épouse, hante la famille. Sous ces images, une rançon presque hors de prix demandée.
Ils sont partis de 5 millions avec les supplices. Ils sont allés à 3 millions de dollars. De 3 millions de dollars, ils sont allés à 1 million de dollars. Et depuis hier, ils parlent de 700 000 dollars. Petit groupe électrogène, un engin moteur Yamaha de 200 chevaux. Et la libération des Nigérians qui se retrouvent en prison à Biya.
La famille, par ses propres moyens, n'a à peine mobilisé que le centième de la somme exigée. Désespérée, l'épouse est à bout. Les menaces sont persistantes et sa santé insolente.
Vous voyez comment ma tête tremble. C'est comme si j'avais déjà la maladie de Parkinson. Le stress quotidien. Quand les pirates matin, midi et soir, avec une voix qui peut tuer quelqu'un dans les menaces, et tu entends la voix de ton époux pleurant dans l'arrière-plan, dans le background. Frère, vous croyez que je vais me dire que je suis presque morte? Je suis à moitié morte.
Le recours à l'administration n'a rien produit de visible jusqu'ici.
J'ai rencontré le gouverneur, on a parlé, il m'a dit que c'est une situation diplomatique entre le Nigeria et le Cameroun et que moi je ne peux pas gérer la situation. Tout ce que je dois faire, c'est...
Sujet majeur.
So, did you hear that? She met the colonial governor and he said it's a diplomatic issue, you can't. These people were also requesting prisoner swap. They have some of theirs who are in the prisons maintained by the Republic du Cameroon in Biya. What was so difficult to free these prisoners in exchange for the life of someone who has decided to go even against the wishes and aspirations of his people to serve you, Yaoundé regime. They could never open up such negotiations. But they did that with Boko Haram when it concerned their citizens. They did that with Boko Haram, a well-known terrorist group, when it concerned French citizens, citizens of other countries. They did that. If you don't learn from this, how else will you learn? As if that is not enough, this is another one. The picture you find on my screen here is of Mr. Langsy Abel. Mr. Langsy Abel is a former mayor of Bafut, of the Bafut Council, that is in Mezam County. Mr. Langsy Abel, I'll say, was former mayor because he was actually duly elected mayor at the time when our people were participating in elections, and he was duly elected mayor under the banner of the opposition Social Democratic Front. I've received word that Mr. Langsy Abel has been kidnapped now and has been in the hands of his kidnappers for 4 days. Today will be the 5th day. This 20th of November will be the 5th day since he was kidnapped, and I'm relying on news that I got from Kumbom Elvis Makati under the banner of his platform known as Makati News, who at least sits on the ground and could do some investigations to feed us with this. And this is the information that he shared, that Mr. Langsy Abel had already spent his 5th night, this 20th of May, the 6th night, and he claims that is in amber captivity, because that's what Makati says, that amber captivity. By amber here means that he is captured by the Southern Cameroon Self-Defense Volunteers. But I want you to listen to his narrative all the way to the end, and you will determine in whose captivity he is, so that you understand this. These are people we have said, stop participating in Cameroon politics because it is not helpful. They say, the local population recounts that the former mayor was kidnapped exactly 5 days ago. This was as of yesterday, and nothing has been heard from him since. His family has not been contacted by the kidnappers, and no demands have been made, which means there has been no demands for ransom. And he says Langsy Abel was last seen donating books and other school supplies to orphans in Bafut through the Langsy Foundation on Wednesday, November 13, 2024. And it says the following day, that's on November 15, he was abducted from the premises of the Bafut District Hospital, where he had gone to visit a patient. This is according to Makati, Akumbom Elvis Makati of Makati News. So he says Langsy Abel had been residing in Bafut for some time. So he had been in Bafut. He had been with the people in the communities. Nothing happened to him. He had been there for some time. Nothing happened to him. And he says, according to sources in Bafut, it is alleged that the mayor was kidnapped due to his efforts to re-establish and revitalize the Social Democratic Front SDF party in Bafut. The subdivision had lost momentum in opposing the government for nearly 8 years since the start of the armed conflict in Anglophone Cameroon. I'm reading exactly what he said. Now, come to it. He says that people say this kidnap is because Mr. Langsy Abel was making efforts to re-establish the SDF party in Bafut. And he says the party had lost momentum in Bafut, lost momentum in opposing the government party, that's the CPDM party, for 8 years. So, my people, who does it benefit, the kidnap of Mr. Langsy Abel? If Mr. Langsy Abel is trying to revitalize the SDF in Bafut, where the CPDM is supposedly in control, whose interest is at stake here? Is it the interest of Amber or the interest of the contraband called CPDM? I like us to reason here, because I have said here over and over, and the late John Frundi, the deceased chairman of the Social Democratic Front, said himself with his voice that a lot of those who were organizing kidnappings in the southern Cameroons were gangs sponsored by CPDM regime barons like Atanga Ponji, Fu Jonathan, Fu Callistus, all of them. There's none of them that's exempted. Anyone whose name I've not called doesn't mean it's exempted. All of them. The CPDM court members in the entire southern Cameroons are behind this. Don't forget that I have said here before that the notion, this kidnapping for ransoms and the serious, torture they exerted on the people was planned at the residence of a former minister of forestry, Tany Ndianyo Clarkson, at a meeting of the so-called Southwest elite at his residence in the level in Yaoundé. I said this before. I reported this over and over. So you see here, in this case, it should be clear, beyond reasonable doubt, before anyone, that those who have kidnapped Mr. Lancy Abel are CPDM hoodlums, for the reason that is clearly stated here, that they don't want to share the terrain with anyone. That's why there's no ransom being demanded. That's why you don't be surprised to get up one morning and find that it is his remains that will be picked. Because as Makati himself says, Mr. Lancy Abel has been in the community, has lived in the community for some time now. The self-defense volunteers are all over the place. Nobody ever touched him. But when he got up and said he wants to revitalize the activities of the opposition Social Democratic Front in Bafut, he is kidnapped. Whose interest is at stake here? Mr. Makati Akumbom, I trust your ability to investigate news. Go back to work, and you will discover that Southern Cameroon's self-defense volunteers have absolutely nothing to do in this matter. Of course, your reporting clearly establishes that. It clearly establishes persons or groups of interest in this particular matter. Again, when would these politicians learn that there is time for everything? The time now is not for stupid, lousy party politics that the people are not interested in. The time now is for liberation of our land. Is to send away occupational forces and the colonial administration out of our land. They can come after and do politics. This is something that we must continue to tell them on a daily basis. I'd like to thank all of you who took off time from your very busy schedule to be part of this live show. Share the link as much as you can. Let's reach as many people as we can. And I want to also take this opportunity to thank all of you who continue to contribute your finances, who continue to provide support through this platform to some of our people facing serious challenges in the refugee camps, some who are in hospital, some who are in the bushes and needing serious help. The assistance that you continue to send in through the Ambazonian Relief Fund, I really want to express thanks to all of you who continue to provide this support. It is really, really very much welcome, and it is helping us tremendously. So thank you for watching, and I hope we meet again pretty soon on this platform. Until then, it's have a nice time.